Linda's here. Hi, Linda. I see you. Glad to see I'm not alone. Let me see if this is going to start now. If you don't mind, tell me in the comments where you're watching me from, because I couldn't find me anywhere. Gosh, I'm seeing I don't. Maybe it's my page. Hmm. There I am. I'm on my business page, but that is it. Why? I wonder why. Well, I guess. So let's see here. I'm going to try one more thing here. Hmm. A little bit of journaling, yeah. I'm kind of a on again, off again journaler, honestly. And somebody commented, I don't remember who it was the other day though, about how supposed to do it every day, supposed to make it a huge habit, all that kind of stuff, and they didn't. Well, I don't. I think it's different for all of us and what's going to work, and it doesn't have to be a specific way. It's whatever works for us. Right, why is it? I'm gonna try just like two more things and see what I can figure out here. And then if I can't make it work, then I'm going to just not worry about it. Says I'm live. Let's see. There I am. I am actually on YouTube. Oh my gosh, that's weird. All right, so I'm gonna. That's a little weird. I first time I ever done live on YouTube. Hopefully it didn't go away. Did I just turn that off? Oh no, I didn't. I thought I'd clicked the wrong button. Right, so I'm gonna try this again. Okay, so that was not quite so bad. Let's see. Now it's looking weird. Comments. There we go. Now we have comments. All right, that's a little better. Still seems wonky, but I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It's all gonna get figured out, right? Like, right. So I've journaled off and on for a lot of years, and what I have discovered about myself is that I tend to journal the most when I'm going through some really tough stuff in my life. Um, the most significant of that was when I divorced my first husband. I still have him somewhere, but I have journals. Like I would write in the evenings. I would just like everything came pouring out of me onto that piece of paper. Um, but what does journaling do for us? So the thing that and I used to do when I was doing the therapist work, I used to run a lot of support groups, and journaling groups was one of those that I did. It was like the most consistent one that people loved going to. It was fun to do. But what do we get out of it? So we get self-awareness is one of the things. You know that old saying, if I don't know what's broke, I can't fix it. No, I'm not saying anybody's broke. I don't believe we're broken. But what I do believe, though, is that we have behaviors and things we do and like, wow, why do I always react that way when whatever happens and all those kind of things. And until we're aware enough of what's going on and why we do the things we do, then we just continue on the same way and we don't ever grow as a person, right? In personal development, whatever you want to call it. Um, Getting just smarter about how we walk through the world. I know that how I operate in the world at 63 is definitely different than how I operated in the world at 23, right? Because we learn life experiences taught us, oh, when I do that, that happens. It's not good. So not a lot of those experiences. Um, but so really that is the key in my mind about journaling and what a whole lot of people get out of it. It also provides a safe place, and I want to talk about that. So your journal is yours and should be private. And that doesn't mean you can't share things in it. Doesn't mean you can't hand it to a friend and say, hey, read that page for me. But that should be all about your deciding to do that. Nobody else should pick up your journal and read it just because, right? That's not their business. And I feel that way even about my husband. Like, you stay out of my journal unless I hand it to you and say you can read that, you just stay out of it. Um, so make sure that you have a safe place to keep it. If it's sitting on a coffee table and you don't care if people read it, fine. But if you do, then don't keep it sitting on a coffee table unless you're there supervised, So that doesn't mean anybody's going to just like, oh, there's their journal, I'm going to go read it. But it's sitting there, they might pick it up and read it. And they might read things they didn't need to be reading, because it needs to be a safe enough place that you can say anything in there. Right. So I've been with my husband for 30 years. And sometimes if I'm really upset, I might write something in the journal that's just me venting. Right. And that's not really where it's at. I just need to express myself. And that's what that's about. Or maybe, I don't know. I mean, I could go on and on about the things we might talk about in a journal that we wouldn't want other people to read, but I'm sure you understand that one. That makes pretty clear sense. So what do you need to journal? Nothing fancy. Nothing. I mean, you can do fancy if you want to, but it's not a requirement to have something fancy. You can have notebook paper and a pencil, or you can have a nicer journal. In fact, I haven't been journaling for a while, but I found two of my journals that was really interesting to look at. One of them was from quite a few years ago, and the other one's more recent. When I go backpacking, especially when I go by myself, I have a small journal that I take, and I come across that one, and it was really cool to see some of the comments that I made while I was out there hiking and a zillion miles from home and setting up my tent and that kind of thing. So it's really talk about self-awareness. So for me, and I know this is true for other people too, because I've done enough of these and get the feedback, right? That when we throw up all over the page, what I call it, the fancy people call it free form writing, right? So you just stick pen to paper, you don't give it thought, you just start writing whatever, whether it's Yankee Doodle Dandy, whether it's something big and heavy, it doesn't matter. You just let it flow out onto the paper, or anything like that, where we just kind of let loose and let it flow. When we come back later and we read that, it can be real eye-opening. Wow, I didn't know. I didn't realize. I didn't like. Then there's that self-awareness piece. I had really big feelings about that, and I didn't realize I had really big feelings about that. But I feel better now. It's kind of like having a good cry in a way. Like if you've ever had a really good cry, and then afterwards, it's exhausting and you feel kind of wiped out. But at some point, you kind of go, "Wow, that was cleansing, and I feel good now." It helps. And I can tell you that because there's people that may be involved in this that I don't know where you're at in the world, and I'm not your therapist, and I don't want to ever present this as therapy. It can be therapeutic, but it is not therapy, right? And I'm not working with you close enough to be able to do that. We have the wrong kind of relationship already for to do that. There's a bazillion reasons why this is not what this is. I either don't know you well enough or know you too well, maybe. So it's going to be casual and more light. Doesn't mean you won't have things that don't come up that's bigger. And if you ever need somebody to talk to about that, I'd be available for that. But we're not going to go dig in. Tell me about the most horrific thing that ever happened to you in your life. That's not where we're headed with this. This is not a recover from trauma class. So, so we will start light, and you each get to decide where you go with that. You can forevermore keep it light. You can dig deeper. That's totally up to you to do. But but that's well, I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, but that's like so journaling prompts. I will offer up. So we're going to start the first week in May, and I think we're going to do it for probably 12 weeks, 3 months, however that plays out. You know how big our months are, and then reevaluate, and then see if we're going to continue on it. And people can come and go. You can start in May. If you can start mid-May, you can do it a couple of times and then not for a little bit and then do it again. It's really about what you want to do, and how you want to do it. I will offer up the prompts, and I will offer extra for those who are, want to do it every single day, and have a different prompt every time. And they're going to be light things. See, I even had some examples here. Uh, What are you grateful for? That's a very um, common one, and it is a good one to do. If you do journal daily, I recommend listing the first thing you do is list three things about your day that you're grateful for, because it keeps our mind in that positive versus the cups half empty versus half full. Um, find a compliment for yourself. Sometimes those are the tough ones. We're having a rough day, especially. Um, where's some other ones? My favorite way to spend the day is I couldn't imagine living without. Uh, what does unconditional love look like to you? If my body could talk, it would say. Now, for some of us, that would be an easy one. For others, a tough one, right? So we're all different. So we're going to do that, and I'll probably kind of theme them. So if we're doing gratitude one week, both prompts will be about gratitude, those kind of things. So, but they're going to be really flexible. And some people like to have the same prompts every single day. Doesn't mean they can't add more to it. A lot of people are like, well, what do you mean by that? So I actually knew a psychologist who always suggested to people about journaling, and he did, and he had for years, and he used the same three prompts every single day. He did it in the evenings. He journaled in the evenings. And it was, so what were you feeling today? What were your feelings about today? What were your thoughts about today? And what was the other thing? And what did you do today? Feelings, thoughts, and what did you do? And that's what he journal about every single day. So you can have something like that as well, right? Some people do the gratitude thing where just the whole journaling every day is about the things they're grateful for. So that's a possibility too. I would like, if possible, that if you do something like that, just let me know, clues me in if that's what you're doing. I also want to talk to you about sharing. So I want folks to share, but that can be what you want it to be. So because like I said, your journal is very private, and only you should be the one determining what you share out of it. So when I did journaling classes before, what we always said was you can share what you wrote, and some people would. They'd read their page right out loud and share it just verbatim. Other people would talk about the experience. For example, they might say, this journaling prompt was kind of tough for me. It brought up some things from my past, and I spent some time processing that on a piece of paper. So they talk about how it felt to do the journaling, whether it was a fun one or a challenging one, or those kind of things. Something I ran into doing this one stumped me, those kind of things. So it's about talking about the experience. So I just want you to know that when I say, hey, so share your journaling info with me this week. What's your journaling experience this week? That's what I mean by that, is that you just tell me whatever you feel comfortable in saying. And that could be something as simple as, this week was kind of rough for me and I'm not ready to talk about it right now. Total valid response. Could mean you took pictures of your journal and posted 6 pages. Doesn't matter. It's what feels right to you. Um, I'm going to advertise this in a couple of different places and get people to recognize that this is an ongoing thing. And you're welcome to do the same. I just urge you to let them know that it is in my VIP group, and they're going to see what I call buy me posts, right? Because I promote business in there. There's not any expectation that they partake in any of that. they do, cool. You might get perks for a referral, but that's definitely not the requirement. I thought about starting a whole new group. I can't manage another group. I just can't. Like, it's just not going to happen. I've tried a couple times and I can't. Something always falls to the wayside. So I'm going to just stick with the one group and do it that way. I've actually even considered, and I think it'll depend on who's journaling through each chunk of time, but of doing quick Zoom check-ins, if people are up for that. So, I mean, I can go live once in a while and do it that way, but that's just me talking to you guys. That's not an engagement of all of us. So it's something to put away in your mind, file away if it might be a possibility. See if we get enough turnout. And again, how much and how little you participate is up to you. I'm going to post them every week, come hell or high water. That is my goal, is to post every week your 2 prompts for the week, once a week. And do that for at least 12 weeks in a row. And we'll see who participates. I'm going to do my best to also partake in the journaling and sharing my own experience with it. I know me, some weeks I'll do it, some weeks it'll fall to the wayside because of my to-do list or what have you. So let me look here really quick because I really don't think there's um, a whole lot. I mean, it's just the basic stuff. So here was the comment that I did have. I've tried to journal, but then I just stop. And everything I read says you must do it daily and never ever quit. Well, my response to that, to whoever says that, is that's BS. I used to beat myself up. I have a lot of experience in beating myself up for things, right? For what I ate, for what I didn't eat, for all that stuff. And I started that when I started journaling. When I would fall to the wayside, I would beat myself up. Like, there you go again, trying to do something for yourself, and you can't do it for more than 2, 3 weeks in a row, and then you just stop, blah blah blah, all that stuff. When I started to realize, though, that when I journaled the most and the most consistently was when my life was a you know what storm. It was my way of processing icky stuff. Like I said, going through a divorce was a good example. Rich and I, my current fellow, him and I went through a couple of hard years. I did a lot of journaling in those 2 years. So that's where it works for me. And when things are great, I don't have that burning desire to need to process all kinds of stuff. So I tend to not think about journaling as much. So you just do what works for you. If you feel like it would be great for you to do it every day, all the rest of the days of your life, and you don't, just remind yourself that it's okay to not too. Like, don't beat yourself up. Don't feel like you failed because you didn't. My earring just keeps turning in a weird way. Anyway, sorry. Sidebar. Um, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Okay, unless it's causing you more pain and misery, then there's no right or wrong. So that's why I wanted to be sure to address that. Um, a safe place to emotions. One tip I wanted to give is that, let's just say, for example, let me just tell you a personal experience. So have you ever heard of, like, people who have anxiety and that kind of thing, or have struggles coping? They put together, like, they might have a basket and it has adult coloring books and fidget toys and whatever little resources, little things that they like doing that they can use to help them cope and manage with life, right? So I have ADHD, and because of that, I get anxiety sometimes. And they knew better. What's funny is they knew better, especially doing therapy work, like I knew. But I created this beautiful basket, and I had different things in it, and even a special cup, and then my favorite tea. So, if I mean, all these little things. But my thought was, well, I'll have that already. Then when I'm having a rough day, then all I got to do is go to my basket and I'll use what's in it. That doesn't happen that way. For 99% of us, it doesn't work that way. Because when we're anxious and messy, we're not thinking about the basket with the resources in it. So we have to use those tools, whatever our tools are that we use to cope and manage through the day. We have to also use them when we don't necessarily need them. Journaling is the same thing. So if, and I mean that, if your goal is to I'm going to get it created, journaling habit. So when I have a really rough day, I will turn to my journal and I will process my stuff. For most of us, it doesn't work that way. If you're not journaling on at least a semi-consistent basis, then when you had a really rough day, you're probably not going to think about your journal. And so you've got to use it when you don't need it to be able to use it when you do need it. And I find that true for, like I said, any kind of coping skills. So if that is your goal with this, then that's just something to consider. There's all different kinds of ways to journal. This paper says there's 10 types. It's probably a whole lot more than that. So you can use your journal like a diary. I don't know about you, but when I was young, I had a diary when I was like middle school age and whatever. One of the little locking ones had the little tiny key that was worthless, but you loved it because it locked. So you can do that. Just talk about your day and what you did, like that. A gratitude journal, we talked about that. So some people also do art journaling. So, and I've ran groups like that, which are pretty cool and interesting. So you get a prompt and you have all this, whatever your media is that you're working with. You do collages with magazines, all that kind of stuff, but you just pull from that and you create your journal page for the day or week or whatever it might be in that form. And you can do any of these, whatever, works for you during this process. Reflective journal, that's about like reflecting back over the day or the week and the things that happened and how you felt and how you managed and the things that you did well and the things that if it happens again, you might do it a little differently, those kind of things. You can also video journal. You can sit and talk to your phone and record 5 minutes of you chattering about your day. That's another form of journaling. Travel journals. Yeah, I would love to travel enough to be able to have a travel journal. I guess my little one I take when I go backpacking is kind of sort of like that. But it's, you can save your plane tickets in it and all that kind of stuff and keep little notes and have fun. Food journaling, I have a lot of experience with that. For many years, I tracked every piece of food that went in my mouth, every calorie and all of that. Um, and then I, at one point morphed it into not so much about what I ate, but how I felt when I ate, because I have a weird twisted relationship with food. It's gotten healthier over the years, but it's there. And so I've done a lot of journaling around that before. If anybody wants more insight or pick at my experience, you're welcome to. Bullet journaling. Bullet journaling is another one that I've done before, because I can you just like a bullet points. In fact, this even says it's popular. You can use it as a to-do list, a planner, but you can also just bullet like XYZ, push my buttons today. Could be it. You don't have to go into detail. You can just, whatever it might be, those little things like that. And it's short and sweet, takes you a couple minutes and you're done. Stream of consciousness journaling, which is basically just letting the mind flow to the paper. Really is. Like you don't give it a whole lot of thought, you just start writing. It's also called free form journaling. Um, and that's actually some of the most insightful kind. The free form or the stream of conscious where you don't have a prompt, you just put the pen to the paper and you start doodling and the words start coming out. And before long, it's not uncommon that you're like, holy wow, I didn't know that was in me. But I think the other important takeaway is that um, go back and reread your entries. A day, a week, a month, 6 months. If it's big and heavy, make sure you're in a place that you can pull that off. If it's light and airy, well, whenever. But that's where we get a lot of those aha moments is by rereading what we wrote and going, I didn't even know that was in me. I can recall again with my ex-husband, I had one of those big yellow legal pads, and I don't remember all the particulars right now. I know that we were divorced. I know I'd been with Rich for a couple of years, but we were still pretty new, and something happened, and I was upset at my ex, probably about my kids or something. And I wrote him a letter because that's another form of journal writing, right? Write letters, and that you don't ever send. Hopefully, you don't ever send them because you're usually pretty like out there. But I decided I'm going to tell him everything that I ever wanted to tell him in this letter. And it started out, not that I have neat and tidy handwriting, but I started out with my normal handwriting, stay between the lines, as I go. And pretty soon the emotions were flowing and I was scribbling on those pages, a whole bunch of it you couldn't even read anymore. But you talk about cathartic. I got everything out of me And then a few days later, I went and reread it and was like, wow, I could like, I remember when you left your socks on the floor 27 years ago. You know, like that kind of stuff and some big stuff. And then I burned it and that was it. And I got a lot of GP out of that. So that's another way of doing that. And it can be really useful for a lot of people. So stay tuned. I'm going to also upload information into the file section and it somehow contain our journaling information in like in one location, hopefully that you can all find it at very easily. So then it's not taking up tons of space for folks who don't want to bother with journaling. But I will put resources and stuff out there. And I've done a lot of this and I'm happy to answer questions that you might have. So but I think that's it for tonight. I'm probably going to go live another time and advertise that I'm going to be talking about this, um, give people more headway so I can expand to the bigger audience. I think that's it. I'm going to go have some dinner. Thanks for being here tonight.